What's up? Hey, I'm back, and it's a good day. It's a good day because I'm back, and we're happy to do this with you all. What's up, everybody? Are you having a great day? What do you call this? Wednesday, hump day, like in the middle, in between. And we're back doing this live. And again, this live is brought to you by Carve, which I am the founder of. We're a digital agency, full stack. But we would like to say that we are on a mission to change the world, one brand at a time. And so this is one of those things that we're doing towards that, right? We started doing these conversations with uh, Chris Doe, and we did it twice. And the objective was just to gather up an audience and share our thoughts, our ideas, concepts, our views, perspectives towards the new normal, which I'm really sick of hearing. We need to have new terminology for this, but and how we can all pivot. But the audience that surrounds us all the time are creatives, agencies, and businesses and brands directly. So that's why the orientation of this live is most of the time towards that. And so I'm excited to do that again today. We're going to talk about design and business and how to specifically a couple of challenges. But before that, I want you to know that what you're watching is another special live because we have a guest. And I guess the name is already on the lower third, so there is no point in introducing. Thank you, Russell. But this guy is an awesome dude, and I have a proper introduction for him. It's he's done many things. He's been in the world of product design. He's coached people. He's consulted. He's been a creative director, a product designer, or product developer. He's done a lot of amazing things, and he started. He's the founder and purveyor of Core, the Core discovery process and system, and he started the school with Chris Doe. And there's many more that I could say, and it would consume the entire live. But let's just go ahead and bring him in. Jose Caballer, everybody. What's up, Jose?
Hey, how you doing, man? It's good to be here.
Is that namaste, Jose?
That's a namaskre. The crazy in me is the crazy in you, man. I'm glad you're the way you are.
Hey, man. I love that about you, and thank you for coming on. And as I gave you context about this, we wanted to do this so we can help, and we can actually help people in a way that they look at the situation differently, and they can kind of come up with ideas on how to do this. So you're the perfect guy for this. Tell us a little bit about yourself before I get into the challenge. Tell us your story,
Yeah,
man.
I'll tell you my story very briefly. I am a graphic designer. I studied packaging and graphic design at Art Center College of Design. To anchor back to your previous guest, Chris Doe, we knew each other in school. That was about 25 years ago. But my choice, where he went into the motion graphics world, I went into the web and digital world. I went to New York to one of the first digital agencies called Razorfish in 1996, and kind of got my chops in the streets of the dot-com boom, because it was definitely a boom at that time. And in 2001, after I was creative director for the LA office for Razorfish, I left and started my own agency called The Group. And I started as a collective, like, oh, let's all get together, and very hippie ideals. And very quickly turned into a fast-growing agency focused on startups and innovation, creative strategy and execution. Full stack is what the kids call it nowadays, like Carve, very much like Carve. And yeah, go
I
ahead.
like that you referred to us as kids. I like that. Thank you.
I call everybody kids. You could be 65 to 100, and I'll still call you kids. And the challenges of growing and working inside that space were the births of what it became the school, because I said, you know what? There's so many people in the world, everywhere, globally, from my own country. I'm Puerto Rican and from the Dominican Republic. My mom's Dominican, my dad's Puerto Rican. So we
Mhm.
were Spanish colonies and U.S. protectorates at one point. And so Spanish is my first language, actually. And But the point about that is that I said there's so many people out there that need this knowledge. So I decided to start the school in 2009 or 10, around there. And it took me a few years to just warm up and do the research that I needed. And then when I launched a YouTube show called This Week in Web Design on a friend's network so that I could launch the school on that to build an audience, basically,
Yeah.
back before it was all the rage. And then in about 2012, 13, maybe 12 or 13, I featured Chris on I featured his website on my show for Blind. He's like, "What are you talking about, Willis?" And we ended up having lunch, and we ended up collaborating, and the rest is history. We started,
Yeah.
he joined me to help me build the school, and we built a YouTube channel, and it's now the future. I left 3 years ago, and in the 3 years that I've been Core, I licensed Core to him, and we collaborate very closely to produce Core with his team. But I went to build brand studios. First, a design studio in New York for an incubator at a company called Consensus for a couple of years, and then now I'm building a brand studio for the last year for a company called EO Products, which stands for Essential Oils. So in a way, I'm using all of the tools and all my experience running a digital agency to help companies that are making the transition into this crazy digital world set it up and train their teams and coach them and figure it out. That's my story.
Wow. Can it be more colorful?
I haven't even told you the
Yeah.
colorful parts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's full spectrum color,
it's
man.
full
Like that's
spectrum color.
wow. Okay. That just really affirms the decision to invite you and have you on here to talk about a few things, the challenges that we kind of set up for this show. Like Jose and I, everybody, uh, we had two conversations before this to kind of figure out, okay, how do we, solidify and crystallize the topic? And he was the one who helped me build this show today. Can you believe this? This is amazing, right? To have that opportunity to do that. But like, so we decided, okay, there's three challenges that we want to take on because of the realities that we are facing now, right? And so we'll talk about the realities that we're facing now as well. But the three challenges really that we want to kind of respond to is pivoting. Number one is pivoting to keep clients and keep income coming in. Um, Mostly, I guess, for any kind of business that has some kind of subscription base or kind of a retainer thing, or any kind of projects actually that take place. You could be an agency, you could be a service provider. Second is, how do you pivot to new clients and working remotely? Right, working remotely is very challenging, very different. You lose this whole um, warm bodies in one room kind of situation. So there's like an added layer of difficulty that's presented. And third, how do you what will be a good pivot strategy to maintain growth or remote work, right? How do you continue to grow through this pandemic, or even maybe post pandemic bounce back season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we want to kind of figure out and discuss. So if you're ready, and I'm hoping that my audio and Jose's audio is coming in clear, just give us a yes on the chat wherever you are watching from. Just give us a yes, and any indication that we're coming in clear and that everything is, as Jose would say it, copacetic. Yes. So Jose, like, let's start with the realities. What we talked about was, number one, it's remote. Everything's done remotely right now, right? And
Yeah.
then teams are distributed, and then there's a lot of market uncertainty.
Yes, and that remote aspect of it is a real critical one. And one thing that I did, borrowing a playbook from my friend Chris Stowe, is that I just put the 10 things that cover all three of those topics into one slide, and it's a message to basically businesses out there. And one thing you'll know about me, I love sharing my keynotes or my Google Slides with the Chrome around it, because it's like modeling. Just, you don't have to be perfect, but it's the reality of business. Also, I can get to see the left side, etc. But so let's talk about remote, and let's talk about all of the things. But I'll start from the top. A message to the business. Like I said,
Sure.
I'm half Dominican, half Puerto Rican, so I grew up in Latin America, and there's a lot of legacy and a lot of challenges. And I've advised businesses there recently, and one of the first things is not comparing yourself to other businesses or to the U.S. or to other countries. There's unique circumstances and unique gifts that each country has, and that's super important for whether you're a designer or whether you're a business owner, to not compare yourself. Um, uh, I'll actually just hit the ones that are related to this remote issue. Number six, number seven, are the ones. And that's really, well, number five, number six, and number seven. Everything is digital. It's been coming for a while, and now it's just the reality. We're on a live across 9 hours or 8 hours of time zone.
Oh,
It's real, right? It's really real. Um, uh, Direct to consumer. Everything is happening on mobile phones. This is now the portal to all reality for all businesses, no matter how big or how small you are, whether you're the corner bodega or the behemoth brand. You're going to have to access your audience and your customers through digital. I'll give you an
yeah.
example. Um, I have, Slack on my computer, I have Slack on my iPad, and I have Slack on my phone. And Teams can ping me, and I can continue doing my work even if I'm moving around the city. The six, collaboration and facilitation are really critical. People have sometimes, an awkward relationship to having to do video calls or having to be on online communication strategies. It's now the normal. You have to be very comfortable being yourself and being expressed on the camera and on screen, and know that you can look right at the camera and like say,
There
"Hey,
you
how
go.
are you? How are you? It's nice to meet you." You're just looking at a little green dot. Um, and then people used to think business strategy, and like their business people, their marketing people, and their creative and technology teams are departments. But that's no longer the case. They are functions of your company, but more than ever, they have to be together now and collaborate. So those are the main things around remote, and around uh, what my message would be around those things, and we can expand on that.
Look, it's a big adjustment. Like initially, I thought it would be a small adjustment because for a company like us, I thought it would be a small adjustment because we're mostly already digital, and I'm so happy to hear somebody else say everything is digital because that's what I've been trying to say for the past, oh, I don't know, 7 years. And so I thought it wouldn't be such a big change, but when we got into it after the first or second month, we started feeling the difference. Really, that this is the new thing now, and we don't know how long it will be like this, or it will be permanently like this. We don't know that, but you have to kind of get used to that flow, that kind of um, work system, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that that whole like getting on in front of the camera. And I also am seeing a lot of people getting more comfortable with it. But there's also a huge contingent, Jose, that's like freaked out about the whole idea. And it's not just about being in front of the camera, it's really about going digital. And that's one of the things we talked about because even if the need is known and acknowledged, people tend to shy away and back away from doing it because they're intimidated by the whole idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one of the root causes of that, and this slide is one of my favorite slides in the world. It's an illustration, but um, it creates a lot of friction inside a business. People don't want change inherently. When you get a lot of resistance and it comes all the way from the top, it really is super difficult. And it's funny because I just saw a slide in here from an old presentation. This is from 2010. So you're not Chicken Little. I've been saying this for 20 years, and I feel like Chicken Little because people are like, whatever. This whole collaboration will work together as a team. I find it difficult. That's from a long time ago, from 2010. That's 10 years ago, and it's really ultimately because all the stakeholders speak very different languages, and they might be talking like Russian or French to their creative counterpart or to their tech counterpart. Everybody has a very different way of thinking, so the projects become super challenging. So I would say that if you're a business owner right now at this time, or you've been resisting a lot of this, the likelihood is that it's in the realm of interpersonal and in the realm of knowing that it's going to cause a lot of friction in conversations, and also it's going to have to cause you to be real. Like, I don't know this, or I've never heard of this, or there's new technology, there's new investments that need to be made, there's new ways of working that need to be tried out, and that scares people. I mean, change is scary, and not just for the leaders. Even if a leader says, "Yeah, we're going digital," it still doesn't mean that his people or her people underneath them are going to really be open to it. So it's a very difficult thing to grapple with.
It is. That's already pretty difficult, right? The adjustment that you have to do the work that you're doing, or to keep on doing the work that you're doing. You've changed the format of it. And then the other challenge presented to you now is, how do we keep the money coming in? How do we keep the projects rolling in? I mean, what have you seen people do, Jose, or what have you guys done around that? Like, what can you share around that? Like, how do we kind of keep, like, how can we keep income coming in?
I mean, there's business model realities, and then there's also the issue of a lot of people talk about right now content, creating content, and getting out there. It's always been easy when you can do it in meetings and meet the people, and you got a project from someone or from a friend of a friend. This is for an agency or for a designer. Now that you don't have that and you're sitting at home or in your studio or wherever you might be, all alone or with your family, how do you reach out and touch your community? So one thing that social media allows for is to have conversations, but I think the paradigm that most kind of creative business and marketing people have around technology is that it's either personal, it's not business, or it's a way that you can promote your business versus having a conversation about what the challenges are that other businesses have. The case study principle for me is really critical. Like, there's a difference between you can show a case study of what you've successfully done for a company within the digital realm, and there is the showing it by doing it. So like right now, you're showing your community, other creatives and other technology people in your area or in the world, actually, because this is on the internet, that you're doing it, that you're having conversations, and that you're providing value to the community in general. That's doing it, and that's a great example. You're doing it right.
Whoa.
Um, you're doing it right. And then there is the second kind of aspect of that, which is simply so that's case study is, here's a project we did, here's our portfolio, here are the challenges, here's how we solved it, here are the results in writing. And the other thing is actually going live. This is not my prediction, this is actually what I am doing. I predict, okay, now I'm predicting now. I am predicting, or I'm betting on the fact that we're going to go one step further. So if you look at the distance between when you do a project, when you write the case study and then promote it to tell the world, hey, this is how we did this, and doing it live with your clients in front of the world, so that there is no gap between, when you did it and when people get to see it. Now you're talking. And that's really where we're going next. One dream that I had a long time ago was when I imagined in the dream that, I was showing up to work, but it was in like a Grand Theft Auto or Second Life or like MMOG type environment, and I was
A
just my
virtual
avatar.
environment.
Yeah, I was going to the work. I turned on the monitor, poof, and the monitor turned on, and now I have all my stuff in front of me. And here I am sitting all by myself in an office. No one's here because of what's happening, in the U.S. and in the world. So I'm just, by myself in a screen having a conversation with tons of people all over the world. And my project is up north in Northern California. You're, 9 hours, time zone away. So it's a reality. That's now a reality. So the next step is, how do we begin sharing a lot more frequently and a lot more live? And the only problem with that is that people are embarrassed. Like, uh, if you have a Latin mom or grandmother, they're like, be careful, how you look or how you talk or how much
Right.
truth you say. They're like, mira, hijo, no hagas eso, ¿sabes? Calladito. You're supposed to be quiet and you're not supposed to be obnoxious. So I commend you for being not quiet and hopefully not listening to those pieces of advice. Even though I'm sure you love your grandmother or your mom and they're amazing. But yeah.
But look, one of the things that I took away a lot from that, but like towards the end, you were saying, don't be. It's almost like Brene Brown ish. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because this act of going online, going live, doing content, being in front of the camera, is vulnerability in its truest form too, right? Because like people could bash you, people could talk about it, people could hate on you, rag on you, and you go do it anyway because you know that there's something that you want to share, and it would add value to certain individuals or businesses that might hear it. So that means we should care less about what people think, right? But culturally, we care a lot about what people think. Again, being Juan, the Filipino, we care because like we grew up in a culture like, what are they gonna say? Look, why are you wearing that? What will people think? What about your hair? What about your beanie? You know what I mean? Like just today, Kat was like, wear a beanie. You know what I mean? Like what are people gonna think? and so and so I guess we need to transcend that. But when to transcend that, that's like a whole. It's not even just professional. It's almost like deep, and it's
Yeah.
embedded deep in there.
It is, and that's a journey. The good news is this: for you and for your generation, you're natives, right? You've grown up in this world of, Instagram stardom and YouTube and live and video games, multiplayer video games. So you're very comfortable living in a digital world. For me, and this is my advice to anybody, I'm 47, so that's actually almost 50. But I've been experimenting with, YouTube before, and people in the industry used to think I was super obnoxious, including my friend Chris Doe. They're like, "You're super obnoxious, man. Like, why would you get on the internet and have video and share your secrets?" I mean, he wasn't
What are
saying
you
that.
doing?
The industry was saying that, and now he's like a superpower on the internet, right? So at first they'll laugh at you, uh, or whatever the saying is. First they hate you, then they laugh at you, and then they join you. The reality again is that you have to let go of the shame, the guilt, the stories. You have to know that you are imperfect as you are, and being vulnerable and being real on the internet. It's not about what I call like vulnerability porn, meaning there are people that get online and share all their like worst and their secrets or how they're doing on a on an hourly basis. If you look at my, Twitter or my Instagram, I'm sharing my personal journey, but you know, it's measured to what I think will relate to my customer or to my users, and I don't see people as customers. I see them as co-creators of my own reality. So the minute that you stop thinking of people as customers or friends or users like we do in user experience, and you
Right.
start realizing that our reality is co-created with who? With the closest people around you and your 15,000 Twitter followers, right? So what you say, the energy you put out, the intentions that you set for your life and for how you speak, they weave your reality. Words have a magical power. So now with the mediums like the internet, like this, like a live session like this, with Facebook, with all the different platforms, you're able to kind of like curate, all of your reality, and it can be overwhelming unless you detach yourself from it. And by detachment is the ability to be both attached and detached to the fact that, some guy named Tom just Facebooked me about doing a live in the Philippines. I'm like, totally, man. If I were thinking like, what the mindset of our own people, I'll be a Dominican, grandma, and I'm like, ¿quién es ese tipo Tom? Yo no lo conozco, no hables con él. That's, he's just Tom guy. I don't know. And then we just started a quick conversation. Oh man, it's like talk to you. You had Christo, so I'm like, yeah, great. Uh, I didn't dig much deeper into it other than our conversations. It's a global world, and the conversations you have online sometimes are not sometimes. I've learned to develop very close relationships with the people that I've met online. Some of my best friends, you know how I met? They watched YouTube, or I met them at a workshop, or I met them on the
Yeah, yeah.
journey. Yeah,
Dude, like, first of all, people are loving the Spanish, man. They're like, ooh, speak some more, Jose. Speak some more Spanish, Jose. But anyway, um, dude,
I can't see the chat, but yeah,
what you oh, Spanish, I love that, says Rebecca. But like anyway, I really love that whole thing that you said because it's such a game changer. Even for me personally, we should stop calling them customers. I think that's a big, what do you call that, barrier to you actually living your best life on the internet, as I would say, living your best life on the internet, because you're looking at people as your friends and as your customers. If you see them as your collaborators, co-creators, it changes the game. It really changes the game because that's where the guts to message you came from. Someone who's internet famous and on the other side of the world doing crazy awesome things, whom I, like, you would imagine, like, you've authored a bunch of things and you imagine people like this back in the day, you wouldn't even think about like emailing, you know what I mean? Because it's just too far. Like, it's not, the gap is too far. But a guy like me, like, some dude in the Philippines with a digital agency could message a guy like you who's, you, and you could respond and we could do something like this. It's wonderful. And by the way, Jose and I, guys, have been talking about collaborating on some other things that may create opportunities further than a live conversation here.
for
and
sure.
and and it's all exciting, and some of it will be translated in Spanish just for you all. But anyway,
Yeah,
one
but
of the things.
go ahead,
Yeah,
recap it.
go for it, man.
No, no, I wanted you to go to first.
No, because I wanted to go back to your point earlier because it kind of highlighted the one of the bullet points on the slide that said everything is digital. So that would mean if you want continuous income to happen, you have to reimagine yourself as, one, a digital company, or at least a digital ready, or a company that is journeying through digital transformation. And then two, you have to see your company or yourself or your business as a content creating company. Is that
Yeah.
a good like summary from what you said earlier?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a secret, and this is actually a very like, you know, crazy kind of secret. The
All
reason
right.
why core works, and I'll share this slide of the three things that core does, because it's ultimately just, and again, it's not a promotion of core. I just want to tell you where it comes from and why, right?
Dude, by all
Uh,
means promote core. I don't care, man. Like it's an awesome thing. People need to know.
but listen to this crazy, right? What I noticed as I'm doing digital in my early career, and all of the exercises come from my journey. I didn't actually invent any of the exercises. I just put them together into the three main ones. Um, Me and you, Tom, are the same person. Like, I'm gonna delve a little bit into the spiritual realm, like where there are no like individuals. It's all one consciousness. That whole concept, and people are like, oh, whatever. But here's the truth. If we were to do a user profile of you, you have an agency that does full stack. You have a live show that is sharing, your conversations with people in your industry. Who was that 10 years ago? That was me doing my first show, This Week in Web Design. And the bravery to reach out to interview my favorite people, CEOs, etc., led to all the other opportunities that have made the journey from here to there. So that's really the user definition. What are the people around you and what are their needs? You are one of the customer profiles in the core for core. If I were to show you like when we defined it, it's me 10 years ago. And then me in the future, like Marty McFly, in Back to the Future, is where I want to go, right? Like the things that I'm struggling with. But I can also help me in the future in terms of like, somebody who needs help doing those things. So what you open up when you define in writing and then you share it publicly on the internet, who your customers are or who your co-creators are, what your goals are, and who you are, your brand, your essence, is basically in spiritual practices they call it manifesting. All business is just really fancy wizards that know all these tools that allow them to make a reality, whether it's to make more revenue, whether it's to make a product, etc. In order for you to be able to build a successful business, you have to be a master, and a master at all these kind of different skills and different things. You yourself are what I call a young master. You're practicing all of
Young
the things,
Jedi.
young Jedi, and it's kind of weird to think about it because you think, well, who am I to call or reach out to this person, or who am I to? That's my point in my 10 things. Don't compare yourself. You are you. You are having the experience you're having now, and the only thing that's going to make a difference between you and the future is that you made the choice to write your own story, to do your own journey, to be different, to think outside of the box, to think different, all the cliches that you hear. So that's really ultimately the secret, is that if you do the definition, you write it down, you prioritize it for yourself first, you can like accelerate the creation of the reality that you want.
For a minute, I was listening to it and I kind of thought it was an inception of core, a coreception.
Yeah.
Like,
Inception is
you,
similar. The movie is
I
very similar.
then who's he?
Yeah. Who's on first? Yeah. It does get like that, but there's so many different versions of you in so many different dimensions doing so many similar things, because like something that people ask when they compare is like, well, but somebody's doing something similar. Yeah, there's other strategy frameworks. Yeah, there's other things that are similar. Everything, there is no original idea. Ideas come in groups. When a culture is shifting, there's everyone's thinking the same thing. There's those who act on it and who put their ideas forward, and those who think about it and just like, imagine it and daydream, and those who take action. I've always daydreamed and then been crazy enough to take action, even if it's not perfect, even if it's messy, even if the beginning is like, horrible. Like if I watch my original show, I'm like, oh my God, who's that guy?
How should, like, look, how should one take action? Like, let me draw out a scenario for you. I own a mom and pop bodega style. We call it here. We call it sari sari store here, man. Like a mini grocery in a street corner, selling laundry soap, candies, and things like that, and sometimes fruits, newspapers, and things like that. This is like by far one of the types of business that's really far from digital, right? Like, because they're not corporate or anything like that. It's a mom and pop, right?
El,
Say I own
el
a mom and pop.
colmado, el colmado is what we call it in the Dominican Republic. I lived when I spent summers with my grandmother, Porfiria Perez. God rest her soul, because she passed a few years ago. But the summers were so beautiful and so idyllic, and we wouldn't go to 7-Eleven or to like the supermarket. We would go to the colmado in the corner, which is
You're
just
right.
had a counter, and could buy candy, and you could buy soda, you could buy a piece of soap. No, not the whole soap, a piece of soap.
Like
um,
it's,
you know
you weigh it
by the pound, yeah, and you
by
put
the
it on
pound.
there. You can buy everything by the pound: rice, beans, you name it. And you didn't have to pay, so that was awesome. Because I said, "Oh, put it on my grandma's tab," and my grandma would be like, "What
Yeah.
are you doing?" What, and their stores are still there. They're bigger now. They're more modern, and now they have a lot of the amenities of supermarkets. And then the choice of growing one of those businesses. I'll give you a really good example. A coffee grower in the Dominican Republic, family owns a lot of different businesses. He wanted to scale the ability to export coffee from the Dominican Republic. So he needed a brand. He needed to create a story around it. And I advised, guided, and introduced him to somebody in the core network who could help build the e-commerce platform, which they did. Of course, all the other things like logistics and fulfillment and like all that had to get done. But um, you have the ability to do that. If I'm a store owner, let's call me Jose, because I'm the Philippines Jose. Jose is Jesus' father, so it's a very popular name
Jose, we have a
in
lot of
Catholic.
Jose's here and Juans.
Yeah, a lot of Juans and a lot of Joses. So I'm Jose. I own a bodega, or I own a coffee business, or you name it. Let's say it's something that is unique to your country,
Right.
that other people that are abroad that are from your country might buy. If you build an e-commerce store, and if you start a Facebook group where you start
Right.
talking about the nostalgic essence of, like, give me a product that is very nostalgic and very specific to the Philippines, that when I come here to the United States I'm going to miss. Guayaberas, that would, the shirts
For
that I saw.
us. Very
Yeah.
nostalgic for us. Okay, here we go. There's a lot. Chippy.
Okay, Chippy, great. Can you
Chippy
ship
is
it?
like
Can you ship
it's
Chippy?
junk food, and
Okay.
what else? Perla, which is a laundry soap. Perla. Colgate. Well, Colgate is available in the U.S., so that's fine. We have these like instant noodles called Maggi or Nissin, and they're sold in sari sari stores.
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine, man, like if we talk to a person right now, of course they're an agency, so going digital, they're already in that. They're already in that process, right? But to a sari sari store, man, like to a corner bodega, man, like it's so hard to even think where do I start? Like how do I even create content? What will I talk about?
Well, what would be really cool for a bodega, it would be to kind of invite, like let's say your cousin or your friend owns one, or a relative, and you do a workshop with them where you can kind of reimagine the business with a community. My in my head, the model of the future is where communities help each other, right? So as a part of your gift to the community, you do a strategic, session for a bodega, and that you can actually kind of broadcast and like use as a case study. They might not have the budget to kind of help to do it themselves, right? But you have to just choose and prioritize one thing that might be digital and possible, and prototype it in the minimum possible way. I'll give you an example. Care packages for friends and family from the Philippines in the rest of the world with all their favorite things from childhood. I would love that from the Dominican Republic. And it basically would be, and it doesn't even have to be the bodega that starts this business. It could be somebody that's just, has the time to do it. And you can prototype it without building a website. You can do it in a Facebook group and with a Twitter account. And you can prototype it without having an e-commerce store. It's like, hey, I'm Tom, or I'm, so and so. And then, in the Facebook group, people are talking about it. And you're like, well, would you like a care package? And here's a picture, which you take with your phone, of the things that come in it. And it's this much money in dollars, because, people are in the United States. And if you DM me to receive one, and in the DM, you basically give them a PayPal, they pay you, and you get an address from them, and you ship it out. And you mark it up 50%. Will I, as a Filipino American living in California, order one of these things as a gift for a friend of mine? Sure. You just have to create the story around it. So right there, from a thought exercise with my local business in the Philippines, and a few tools, without investing in any e-commerce or any platform or anything complex, you can prove whether or not there's a demand for it. And suddenly, my friend Jorge, who I send it to from the Philippines, tells Maria, and then tells Ana, and tells Juan, and tells their mothers or cousins or friends about it, and everybody starts ordering it. Suddenly, this bodega that's out in the Philippines is overtaken by the demand for local products, just as a nostalgic thing for friends abroad. I made all that up in my head right now. But is it possible? Do you think you could do that in a few weeks?
I don't see why not, man. I mean, like, it not only has this business gone digital, but it's gone global. Like that. See, that's the thing too, man. When you go digital, you're already kind of, technically you're global, because you're searchable on the internet, right? And we're not saying, I think we get caught up sometimes on the production value and the styling and the aesthetics and the storyboard and the script, when really it's existing. Step one is exist on the internet, right? Be present on the internet. And then of course, I imagine excellence, man. Like, imagine evolving towards like something more manicured, or more better production value. But at least to start, just jump in, right? Like, get your phone and shoot a live, and just do something, right? That's all we're saying.
That's
Nothing
all we're
more.
saying. Yeah. And something I hear very frequently is like, I don't know how to do it. And my snarky advice is like, hire your 16-year-old niece to do your Instagram. But I actually recommend that if you are a business owner of any size, in any culture, in any part of the world, you should be curious, and you should really practice and like build the digital tools. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to do anything like, extravagant, but just try and get familiar with what the tools are. You should be somewhat familiar with the first version of Core. I had an apprentice help me do the deck, and I refined it. I set up the store in Shopify in like an afternoon with a module for content delivery, and skinned it. Now, I'm a designer, so I could do a lot of the graphics, but it wasn't anything to write home about. And now, 6 years later, it's this thing, this global kind of thing. Chris obviously is a master, and he's built the future very well. But the starting wasn't the same, right? So you have to start somewhere.
Start somewhere, and don't get caught up in the whole, production value aesthetics of it all, and just start something. And I was talking to, who was I talking to? Start something, just jump in. I remember now. Keone was the one who told me before, back in the day. I asked him, where does one start in going digital, or even going social? He said, like, start where it's easy for you and where it's comfortable. And then I added to that, right? You start there, and it will naturally and gradually complicate itself for you. So don't complicate it ahead of time, right? Just go in and get at it, and it's just going to, the next step is going to come, and the next level of design is going to come, the next level of content is going to come. You're going to start to understand what you need to do. But the point is, just set up a page. Maybe just get the page for Facebook, and then maybe put up a cover photo up, just something really straightforward.
Really
If
simple,
it's
yeah.
hard, get your 16-year-old niece to do it, right? Maybe.
Everybody knows someone who can possibly do it for them. Yeah.
And us being Filipino, we probably know a whole squad of people that can do it for us, man. I mean,
Your
that's,
kids, yeah. I'll
yeah.
give you a really good example. My uncle, Jose Ramon, he was in the car business for many years. He imported cars into the Dominican Republic. When I visited one summer, he had a car dealership in the village near my grandmother's. Before I went to art school, I painted the logo. I designed the identity for it, and I painted the logo, personally painted the logo on the dealer when I was visiting for a summer. Years later, like about 3-4 years ago, his sons, one became a programmer, the other one became a business person and a strategist, who happens to be my coach, my leadership and personal coach. And my brother is a programmer and a designer because he kind of worked with me for a little bit. And they actually built and designed a whole car dealership here in the US for my uncle, that was super slick. And they built a website, they built an inventory system, they built the whole like thing themselves,
The whole shebang.
the whole shebang. And it was so impressive that they sold it. They sold the whole thing to another entrepreneur in their local area. So yeah, your family probably has the ability to do a lot of the work for you.
Okay.
I have a really big family. I have 22 cousins, just to be clear.
How many cousins? I'll see your
22
20,
on my mom's.
and
How
I'll
many?
raise.
Do you have more? How
Dude, I
many?
have a lot of cousins, man.
No, first cousins.
Oh, first cousins. Oh, well, not. I don't
Not
think
like primo, prima,
yeah.
we call everybody cousin, but I'm talking about real, for real, real.
Like
Anyway,
first.
let's not compete between the Philippines and like the Caribbean. Who has more cousins?
But it's a good game. Anyway, like, dude, like, I don't think we have time for Q&A. We've run about an hour now, but I do have
Let one question. Yeah, let one question go through.
one question. Team, where's the team? Team, one question. Yeah, just okay. So while that's being curated at the moment, let me type in. Okay. Um, Let me ask you this one last thing, because we did cover all the challenges, but what's one thing that you can say, Jose, like, because collaboration between teams, there's a lot of methods and tools around that. Like, we've gotten onto Mural because of you. We used to use Trello, we use Zoom, and Workplace by Facebook, and a lot of other Slack, and a lot of other collaboration tools. But what have you seen change in terms of business to client kind of technology that's being used now? Not just within the business, but actually like working with clients remotely. even locally in the US? Is it the same tools? Is it the same kind
It
of?
is. It is the same tools because we're actually it's staying at home, right? That's the most people are, at least very few people, unless you work in a factory or you work in a service industry. For us, creative and technology people, you're mainly work. You can work remote. It's easy. So right now, as we speak, I just finished doing a presentation where the challenge we were trying to solve is how to present to the CEO and the leadership of the company the progress of marketing campaigns. And I showed you a little bit of that. And one of the big problems was that the designer would design it, and then it would have to be reviewed by marketing, and then it would have to
Right.
be shown to the client. And there was like 4 meetings, and I'm like, okay, this is not working. So we, over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, week and a half, just in a matter of a week, a tool called Figma, Figma,
Yep.
Figma.com, which is like Sketch, or like, it's a design program. But Figma is all online and collaborative. And we put the entire campaign for an entire month, all the artwork for it across, homepage, email, Instagram timeline, Instagram stories, ads, in the different formats, all in one board, so that we can see the whole campaign. And today we did the first time where we presented, not to get approval, but to get input and to like brainstorm with the founder. And she had some really great ideas, and she gave us some feedback on what the whole was that we couldn't have done before. The way we were presenting item by item by item by item. I said, no, we have to look at the whole thing at the same time in one big view, because otherwise, it's just ridiculous. It takes forever.
Like a
While we
macro
were
view.
It's a macro view, but while we were on that session, the designer was in it, actually taking notes and making changes live. So what I said at the beginning, that in the future, I had this dream where work would just be live and everybody can drop in to a virtual setting, is the reality that I'm trying to create, where this distance, I call it zero distance to truth. The distance between when something is done, or the process basically of doing something, is live all the time, so you can jump in at any time and review and figure out and collaborate. That's where we're going towards, because that's what we need. There is no other way to collaborate online at the speed that digital needs to be happening for your business, without letting go of all the old ways. And yes, sir, here's our presentation, and the formality of all that. No, get rid of all that. Everybody's part of the team. Business, marketing, creative, technology, they're all working together in, chat, in Figma, in Mural. It's just, that's the reality, and you got to get comfortable with that as a business owner and as a creative.
That's awesome, man. Like, I'd love to delve into that. Was that Everyone? EO,
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone products? Because you showed me that and you gave me somewhat a short tour around that whole thing. Man, I'd love to do that
We can
on
do
a
it. Hey, I'm happy to. Hey, better yet, how about this? How about we create a project for us as a sample, and we
whoa.
share it with everybody? Does that make
Yo,
sense?
let's
Like,
do that.
we create an entire campaign from top to bottom for whatever, for carb, for the system. Doesn't matter. You make it up. Something that's real and that we're going to use. And then your team and the people that are watching you can collaborate and participate and give feedback.
Hang on, in an hour. In an
No,
hour?
well, in an hour, we're not going to do the work. In an hour, we're just going to show them the progress. We have to do the pre-work and the work, but it can be done remote and collaboration. Anyway, that's just
Oh,
great.
yes.
Crazy
And
idea.
guys, if you're watching this is one of the things that Jose and I were talking about doing. And I guess we could do like a pre thing for it where we do it like just us, and then like an in between thing where we go live and we actually get everybody to share their input. And I think that's pretty darn awesome, man. Because we'll invite all these agencies, all these other designers, creatives that we know in this space, and it's going to be kind of a learning session while it's actually a real project as well.
Yeah.
Yo, that is something guys, you heard it from the man. He wants to do it. So let's do it. And second ask from me is, can I invite you to this group, this community that we started on Facebook? And it's just a
Yeah,
combination of creatives and different agencies and businesses, small businesses here in the Philippines. It's not a huge group. There's only about 200 plus of us in there, and we just kind of collaborate and share.
that's
Uh,
huge. That's very big.
it's pretty cool. And then we run webinars every Friday, so that's where I announce it too, and we just keep
What
adding.
time are your webinars on Friday?
Oh, dude, it's 4 p.m. our time.
Got it. Okay.
But if you
'Cause
want to
I
jump
run.
in,
I know. Well, I run webinars my Friday, so that's your Saturday in the morning. So I wanted to invite everybody to join because we're going to be doing live circles. We're going to actually be doing like I put it up on my screen. We're going to be doing every Friday. So look for it on my Twitter and on my. We're going to be doing real projects in circles live. That's my next jam. It's
yeah,
like let's just work together.
yes, let's do this, man. Let's do this. Okay, a lot of people are saying awesome, OMG, wow, a live collab. Ooh, that'd be awesome. Okay, one question though, one question, and it might be a good thing to talk about on one of our other live sessions too, and in detail. But what is the this coming from the audience, right? What is the success rate of core with businesses, and how is it more essential during this time?
Great question. So, if you hear the stories from when it was launched to today, if you look at it from the business side of the agent, the freelancer, where they were doing $500 websites, this is here in the US, and they were able to prove that they were more valuable because they were helping with strategy. And then they started doing $10,000 and $20,000 projects because they used, a framework, and they were perceived as a little smarter than just like, hey, I'm an artist and I'm going to do your stuff. So that's the success. Like it really multiplied their revenue. At the business level, I personally started practicing core with my clients that I knew would be able to be successful and that I could stay there and help them for a while. So I'll give you one very brief example. One of the early customers who actually, he wasn't only an early customer, he was an investor, and he's the one who gave me the idea just to put out those 3 exercises. Robert is his name. We used it, and I trained his team to be able to do customer profiles, because most of the tools in core are already available in business in other forms.
Everywhere, yeah.
Prioritizing your revenue goals is something that companies are going to do anyway. The fact
Yeah.
that you're involved in it as a designer or as a agency is like, whoa, okay, you guys are consultancy. That's pretty fancy. But I taught their team how to do it. They've scaled and grown. I've used Core to launch many startups and that are still around. Startups primarily, in general, startups have a fairly large mortality rate. Tech startups, not just general businesses. But I'm in the last 3 years, every single one of the startups that I've personally chosen, because they're people that I knew that asked me for help, has been able to successfully do core and do their brand and do their product, and they're doing very well and have raised multiple rounds. So for me personally, I've been able to successfully translate it. But here's the secret. You have to do it a lot of times, over and over and over and over again, to get to the point to where, as a creative or as an agency, you have the ability to control the course of the project. Because if you just do it, deliver the design work, and say good luck, the project might have been better, it might have been more successful, it might have been better results, but you do not have control over the outcome of the business. So my encouragement and my invitation to you here is to really begin thinking of yourself more uh, as more than a designer, a consultant, or a service provider, and as a partner in the success of the businesses that you work with.
That is epic, man. That is awesome. Thank you for answering the question, and I fully agree, man. I fully agree with it all. Like as an agency in the past 7 years, every time we do a strategic planning, because we our strategic planning is shorter, like it's annual, we always go back into rebuilding our identity system and kind of re-articulating what the brand is. And we're going through such a thing right now in this season, which is kind of weird to do in this season, but like also I think the more reason to do it in this season because we're facing a new world, a new kind of customer. We have to become a new version of ourselves that is appropriate for it, right? So
And here's one last thing, and one more thing.
I love that.
The other,
Yes.
the other part of that question was, and how is it applicable to today? So if you think about how many businesses are having to pivot and to reposition themselves and to re-articulate their brand or to redo their customers because their customer needs are now very different because of what's happening in the world, there are so many people that need it, right? That need that. So
Yes.
you start with yourself and you start offering it, even if it's, for free or for a nominal fee, where you're helping the businesses locally in your area re-articulate what they need to do in order to survive that what's coming next. This is not going to get any easier. It's going to get worse. But if you can always pivot and pivot, pivoting is just getting faster. So now you have a tool that you can use to kind of understand, see, and define what the direction is continuously. So you need to be able to do it many times. So it's become now even more valuable to understand and to have this skill.
Perfect, man. Look, to everybody watching, we will hit you up with the schedule as to when the next sesh will be. Of course, in between that, we would have to do the pre-work, Jose and I, and we might work on the system because that's fun, and it's like super new. Um, Before we, I'm in the process of wrapping up. I just want to thank everybody who partnered with us and really supported the whole thing and promoting everything. As you can see on the screen, man, that's a lot of people, right? There's probably going to be a lot more on the next round, and they don't pay anything. We don't pay them anything. We just kind of help each other out, which is exactly what the new world is, man. Like it's collaboration, it's community, and it's fun times like this with Jose Caballer, man. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for your questions. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.